You talked about capital, you talked about trains, you talked about trams.
Yes.
And you said something about capital, and I ask myself,
Yes.
is it that we do not have the capital or we do not have the will? Which is it?
Both. So let's start with...
You think Nigeria does not have the capital?
No, not with the system that we're trying to import. So we have 200 million Nigerians. One bus maybe can take, 1,000 Nigerians a day? So let's do the maths. 10,000 Nigerians, 10 buses. 100,000, 100 buses. 1 million Nigerians, 1,000 buses. So
you do that to the ratio of 200.
Maybe we need like 100,000 buses. How much does one bus cost?
A proper standard bus.
Or you say, let's use million, 100 million naira, maybe. Maybe 100 million naira, and we need 100,000. I don't have a calculator here, but if you do 100 million times 100,000, it's a very, very big number. And when you do that, you also have to look at, okay, you've spent maybe 100 billion, 1 trillion naira to buy buses to cover the whole of Nigeria in terms of mass transit. Can you return that money back? You have problems of, Nigerian factor, people managing your assets, and then they're, maybe they're stealing your engine, or you're having, we all know these problems. I don't need to expand on them. But I go back to what I say is that we have already developed something from the hardship. We already have an innovation that is on the street. So instead of going shopping and importing, which again is not good on our currency, it's not good on our sustainability as a nation. If we're a sovereign nation, we cannot be depending on importing things from abroad. We already have something. So, and it's cost effective because if you close the ports today, there are enough motor vehicles in the nation to move everybody around. Most cars spend 90% of their life parked. If you think about the car in your house, you probably only drive it 1-2 hours a day. The other 22 hours, it's parked. So you have a lot of static assets that...
Could it be that they're also parked because we're not ticketing them?
No, let us not rush to taxing thing. What we need is a system that makes it easier for just people to
average masses to just go around.
Yes. Exactly. So the cost factor, we already have enough vehicles to move every Nigerian around. We just need to design a better system, which we have done. We have the solution. Put the right bus stops there. Accept that people use four-seater cars through junctions, through stops, and through our app interface, you can book a ride. Luckily, you can also verify your identity. So the safety is there, the affordability is there, and this is a solution that can scale before December with the right backing, with the right team, with the right support, which we're already talking with, Ministry of Transport, FCT, and the likes of the others. So that is the cost part. The second thing you asked was
the will.
The will. Again, the will comes from when there's something that can be willed, right? You need to start from somewhere. So unfortunately, we've not had a place to start from. But as we sit with you today, we have a place to begin. We have a solution that has already shown traction in the market. And that leads to acceptance of, yes, there's a dysfunction, but let us design around that dysfunction rather than importing what works for countries that are not Nigeria.
It's interesting. I mean, I'm looking at it beyond even the commerce. I'm looking at it beyond making profit. We're saying what would work for Nigerians, and you're saying, hey, local hands can build global brands, right?
Yes.
If the partnership can come from government and private, everybody comes together to work.
Yeah.
He said something about the cars being parked. How do we use those guys? How do we bring everybody and still say, hey, you can bring your cars and everything? Is it a workable system? The e-hailing guys are doing something almost similar. Everybody brings their car and register, right? Yeah. How does this go into a more functional way where almost everybody, the guy with his green car can come in? How is that a possibility?
Okay, so like you said, there are a lot of cars parked. So even you, as you're here now, for an example, you drove in, right? And let's assume your car is parked, right? And so millions of Nigerians. Now, the e-hailing applications, those companies that came into Nigeria, right? So the what they offer is more like an exclusive service, right, to who can afford it.
To a certain
To a
class.
certain class, right?
Okay.
So that's why in the morning and in the evening, good thing you're in Abuja, so you know how these are junctions. You go to Berger, you see the crowd of people. You go to any of the junctions in Abuja, you see massive people. So what is missing is there are not enough vehicles to move them around. One. Two, how secure and safe is those vehicles? Right? So people are standing in those junctions because they don't know if the next vehicle they're going to be getting will actually take them safely to their destination. So that is why we have developed a solution that says, as long as you have a car and you're registered on the platform, you're being verified. Your identity is known. So which means your vehicle can earn any money. So once the rider knows that this vehicle is verified, I'm safe to ride on it. So even if I'm leaving my office 9 p.m., 10 p.m. in the night, I know that I'm booking a ride on alone. I'm going to get home safely. So it also makes you a car owner in the morning when you're going to the office. What's there to lose? I register as an along driver. I set up the app and I pick my riders. I'm going, knowing fully well that whoever I'm picking is a verified user.
Let me come in here.
So more vehicles are now coming into the system.
More people come in, more people get carried.
Exactly.
So could integrating, biometric, we talked about NIMC, biometrics, GPS, why is it that we can't have this along, guys? Again, I want to go back to that because like we said, that's where the real one chance and all the other incidents that we have come, right? So if these guys, why is it that the police and, security apparatus cannot push to have that biometrics, that national identity, aligned? And what would it take to say before you can run this system, before you can run this car, we need to be aligned with names such that we can track you? What would it take?
The thing is, what is already existing is informal. So once something is informal, it is very hard to digitalize.
So you think a law needs to come in?
Exactly. And once you're not in a digitalized space, it is very difficult to regulate. You can't regulate because you don't even know what is happening, because you don't have a footprint. You don't have you don't have any data to be able to measure that this is the level or this is the number of persons we have, right? So we have to have a system that is digitalized. Then from there you can regulate. Then the police can say, oh, okay, yesterday there was a riot, there was a robbery incident, or a driver was attacked. Where's the details of the driver? Where's the details of the rider? Until you have that system, you can't police these people. So that is what we have built. We have a system that a law, like you said, can be passed and say, you know what, we are now moving from the informal, way we operate to a digitalized place. And thank God, we have a solution in country that prefers, that brings this thing to limelight. So we are calling on everybody. We're calling on those, green taxis, all of you, you have to register with us. So we are even calling on them to register on the platform for safer and convenient, movement.
One of those things that is missing usually is information and how to really pass it to the people. But beyond that, I was going to ask you, Dolapo, how much of Nigeria's economic stagnation is tied to poor transportation infrastructure in your own assessment?
In my own assessment, I think mobility is the foundation of an urban economy. So I call it a tax on dignity, where if I wake up in the morning, I want to go to church, I want to go to the mosque, I want to go to the hospital, I want to take my kids to school, and I'm restricted in all my activities. So the school is not getting the adequate attendance. The religious institutions are not getting the adequate attendance. The shops, the supermarkets, and
the individual.
The child as well is not having enough mobility to socialize, to experiment. We started this business, I think, around 9 in the night. We conceived the business. A lot of young Nigerians do not move out after 7 o'clock because once it's dark, you are concerned for your safety. So you have a lot of young people that are not interacting in the evening. Again, Conversations are where ideas get formed, formalized, and where great things start. You look at all the great innovations around the world, they start with humans interacting. So you basically have the foundation of the economy, of the society, of the nation has been stifled because people are not moving as they should. And every decision to move from point A to point B, you have to consider your life, your safety, your pocket. And when you now look at this for 200 million people, 100 million people, 50 million people, in a day, if 10 million people were going to go out and shop, or they were going to go out and interact and they don't, that is loss of economic activity. And loss of economic activity is the foundation of a bad economy in terms of where you have a society that cannot progress.
All right, I must thank you, Endurance Omonibo and Dolapo Obat, for coming on the program today. That's the much we can actually take. I mean, your innovation, and I'm hoping that we can see more collaborations between young people and the government to see that the masses are really alleviated from poverty.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's it on the beam today. I'm Soonest Nathaniel, and as always, we're going to be leaving you with our top 5 videos, but I keep reminding you, stay curious, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep beaming your light where it matters the most. May this great nation continue to rise and flourish. Bye for now.
This week, we begin our countdown with a clip from the Morning Brief where Mr. Yunus Atanko speaks to the defections of Obi and others to the ADC. In 4th place, FCT Minister Yesim Wike assures Nigerians that PDP will be on the ballot for the 2027 election. Coming third on our list, Professor Odenta stresses that the present INEC chairman, Joash Amupitan, was procured to perform a role.
And I said it here, the INEC, this one, remember, every INEC chairman, without exception, suffers some debilitating loss of credibility with elections. Morris, Mahmoud, Jega, it's after the election, they say, oh, he didn't do well. A year before election, this INEC chairman has lost credibility, not just because of ADC.
In 2nd place, we watch as Peter Obi, Tambuwal, Amechi and others rally in Kano State as Kwankwaso officially joins the ADC. At the top spot this week, former Governor Ayodele Fayose reveals why it will be difficult for Mr. Peter Obi to become president.
Obi not on the ballot of ADC. And that's the end of it. It looks like that now that Obi will not. So they want to for your party. I think we'll get tickets. So will Obi go back to the East and say, I am deputy?
That's it on our countdown today. Join us next week for more.